Sound cliche, but it still holds true to its meaning. It's a pleasure to be with you all at Tokyo. Now, before I proceed with my study, may I see the hands of those people who have been put into a situation wherein they were gathered in a group to perform a certain task, but you wish to be performing it individually because you know how it feels to not be given value. May I see those hands? Okay, those. Thank you so much. And I do believe that there are also people who were so lonely in a place that they wanted to be in a group because they do believe in what John Donne said, that no man is an island. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually a form of choosing, and this is very much vivid in our educational system here in the Philippines. Hence, the title of our study is A Comparative Analysis on Students' Preference Between Individual Performance vis-à-vis Group Performance. By the way, I am T. Patrick Zurubaya from the University of Cebu, Lapu-Lapu, and Mandaue. Academic performance. It is usually associated with the test scores and grades a student usually gets. However, according to result in 2017, it is affected by certain factors such as individual performance and group performance. But with the onset of the K-12 curriculum here in the Philippines, according to DepEd Memorandum No. 8 Series of 2015, much emphasis is given to performance tasks, as it is given 50% on the scale. Now, this study is anchored on the theory of social loafing theory. However, before we proceed to that, let us see the objectives of this study. First, the researchers are interested to investigate and compare how individual performance and group performance affect the students' academic performance. Next, the study further aims to assess the academic performance of the students and the activities done individually or in a group. Lastly, the study is deemed to determine the strengths and weaknesses of employing either individual or group performance as perceived by the students. Now, this is anchored in the theory of Mayers in 1997, the social loafing theory, which states that a person tends to exert less effort when they are in a group. Hence, they tend to become lazy, hence coined by the name social loafing, being lazy in a group. Now, in order to realize this study, we have the methodology. First, we have the research design, which is a descriptive quantitative research, which is according to Bidix in 2009. It is supported by John in 2002. Numbers alone could not satisfy data. Hence, we have the description of these numbers. It is conducted at the University of Cebu, Lapu-Lapu, and Mandaue to 60 respondents and accompanied by a research survey questionnaire with a checklist and a secondary data presented by the teachers. It is also consisting of a data processing, analyzing, and interpretation. Next, now we have our table here. We have SFA1, P2, A1, and P4. A1 refers to those sections who are pilot sections. As what we may have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, they prefer to have individual performance, while on the section who lie below the pilot classes prove to have group performance. Now, on the next table, we have our activities and the preference of the students, whether it is group performance or individual performance, such as reporting, role play, presentation, and etc. Now, what we have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, is that number one, 60% of the students, which is more than half of the group, voted to have individual performance, while 40% of the students preferred to have it in a group. And that's the nature of the activity, how it affects the preference of the students. This means that if the activity is costly, they prefer to have group. While on the other hand, if the activity requires to have personal knowledge, then they prefer to have in an individual performance. Next, through the secondary data, the academic performance of the students is highly affected by the nature of performance and the nature of the task needed to be done. Lastly, what has been alarming is that, ladies and gentlemen, students, as what I have mentioned earlier, students who belong in lower section tend to choose group performance. Hence, they have developed the culture of dependence. And also, the students who belong to the pilot classes tend to choose individual performance, which led to have an unhealthy performance because they think that they could do it better than others. Now, with all these findings, we have resulted into these, that it is therefore concluded that individual performance is more preferred to improve the academic performance of the student over group performance. And it is the more a student is exposed to an individual performance, the more they tend to have better understanding about their topic. However, ladies and gentlemen, these are lifted from the perspective of the students. Thus, it could not be conclusively concluded that one type of performance is better than the other. Now, with all these, ladies and gentlemen, we have proposed these recommendations that teachers must employ both individual and group performance depending on the nature of the activity. And we also have to use proper evaluation tools like rubrics in order to determine the actual performance of the students either individually or as a group. Next, learning styles and multiple intelligence is considered as well in giving the type of performance as what our fellow researchers have mentioned. Gardner proposed a multiple intelligence. This is why all of us, students, differ in their intelligence. Lastly, another research activity should be conducted in order to determine the type of the performance employed and their academic standing in class. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I am my privilege to speak in front of you, it is my great privilege to say and leave this quote. Grades are just numbers. As you, the future teachers, please do not limit the students on their potential in their grades. Because whether we like it or not, grades have never and will never define what a student can do. It may sound cliche, but it still holds true to its meaning. Thank you.